Session, our panelists are going to be discussing Innovate to Elevate, tech titans leading the charge. The moderator for this panel, Anirudh Tara, MDP BCG. A round of applause, please, for Anirudh Tara. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Let's make some noise and keep applauding as I welcome the panelists to the stage. Anilkumar Varma, Chief Technology Officer, Multi-Commodity Exchange Clearing Corporation. A round of applause for Mr. Varma. Let's welcome Yogesh, Krishna, Lohra, Head Digital Transformation, L&T Realty. Kiran, Komalta, CTO, Restaurants Brand Asia. Keep that applause coming. Abhishek, Ashok, Kumar, Head Digital Initiatives, Bluestar India. And Suhail, Ghai, Director and Chief Digital and Information Officer, Max Life Insurance. A round of applause for Mr. Ghai as well, please. Mr. Tara, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Check. All right. So thank you. Thank you for joining us and looking forward to this. We just spoke about consumer experience in the previous one. We'll talk a little bit more about how this is becoming a reality. You know, with all the digital technologies which are coming together, consumer experience and how it is delivered has completely been revolutionized. The digital first businesses have anyways revolutionized this. A lot of the traditionally non-digital businesses have now adopted, whether it is phygital journeys, omni-channel journeys, as well as a lot of personalization in the offline space. Getting that delivered is a challenge. And we have here our panelists who will talk a little bit about that. Also talk about the fact that what kind of value that we end up getting from from enhancing the consumer experience. And finally, it is not a 2-year journey. It is now becoming much, much more agile to implement and start realizing value somewhere from 3 months to 6 months rather than what it used to be 2 years, 3 years away. So, it'll be great to have a discussion on all these topics and learn from all of you. So starting with maybe Suhail, one of the consumer experiences basic tenets is keep it really, really simple for the customer. But if you think about all the technologies, how they work together, it is actually very complex. So how are you thinking about balancing between simplicity and complexity while delivering a great consumer experience for your customers?
So hi, Anirudh. Hi, Anirudh. So as you said, keep it simple for the customer and take all complexity to the back end. I think I represent life insurance industry where we actually engage, and a lot of our customers are with us for 30 years. So we don't write a risk which is like an annual risk. And sometimes and therefore there is always a trade-off. How much you want to know about the customer and how long is the journey and what is the experience of the customer in the journey. I think over the years what we have done is that try to leverage a lot about digital ecosystems, the India public infrastructure, and using a lot of analytics to keep the journey very simple. For example, if you've taken today an onboarding journey, in most places you don't even need any personal details because you will have an eKYC done. You won't need any financial underwriting because you will have an account aggregator which will have all your documents, so no more documents. By the way, you don't even need a document. You can actually run an AI model on top of it then and there. So 0 documents and your underwriting is done. You look at a lot of places. For example, now in looking at medicals, even in medicals, you're working with image analytics across the world, where today half of a medical test can be, a simple video, 1 minute. Biomarkers can tell you. So I would think a lot of these things coming in the front is making easier for the customers. Today, a journey time for even a complex policies are 6 to 7 minutes, including end-to-end, all declarations, all documents, all validations. And a lot of this resides on data. So building the data pipelines at the back end, using ML models, looking at large term mortality, morbidity, persistency, but bringing it very simplifying it for the customer. Second is how do you, it's a complex product, so how do you make it easy for customer to understand? Earlier there were interventions, you go to an online site, people, you get phone calls. How can today you have videos on demand when you want to reach out to somebody, of a live chat? And I think that is making it simpler for the customer. At the same point of time, for the organization point of view, still writing the risk the right way.
Thank you. I think the interesting thing is the pandemic saw the change in user behavior where a lot of digital first businesses came and took over, where the traditional businesses were. So just as an example, let's take food delivery, right? Food delivery apps like Zomato, like Swiggy, they changed the consumer behavior and got them used to something which is which prioritize convenience, right? Kiran, maybe you talk about how you use that the behavior change to think about your offline experience as people have come back into the store.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. Am I audible? Yes. Yeah. QSR is an industry where technology is largely used. We can't just imagine without technology to create a customer touch points or dealing with the inventory management and people management. QSR is a less check value, high volume business, and in the digital strategy, online is not new to us. Pre-COVID also, we are online. We have digital platforms and we have our own mobile apps. What changed is after COVID, post-COVID, the adoption from the customer increased. There is a significant shift of business from offline to online. So it happens that some of the catchments or some of the markets, almost 70% of business is coming from online. So in such kind of places, the restaurant will become a redundant. It's like cloud kitchens. Mainly, we see the adoption of technology by customers, the way the digital literacy increased post-COVID and mobile penetrations. This has created this change in the customer behavior. So we wanted to run the wave. So what we started doing is, having said we have a good percentage of business coming from a mobile platforms, be it Swiggy, Zomato, or our own mobile apps, which will only create a delivery experience, but it's not an in-store experience. So then we started taking this to in-store digital experience. When customer is very used to pay through QR code, they are ready to pre-order a table. And today, if you just go back 5 years, in QSR business, cash is king. People only pay by cash. The percentage used to be around 90% is only cash transactions. Today, it completely turned other way. Now, hardly we get cash payments. It's 50% of business is on UPI payments by scanning a QR code and just making the payments, and other digital platforms. So now in store, what we are at a transaction we are changing is, we have started creating more digital experience within the restaurants, be it a self-ordering kiosk, table service, scan a QR code and order, which is complemented by digital coupons and offerings. So at times in QSR business, it's next to impossible for us to collect customer information and enroll them into loyalty. Susan spoke about Starbucks. Starbucks is an exception in QSR business, but most of McDonald's, Burger King, KFCs, you see 4 or 5 people standing in queue, and only touch point for us is the cashier. So cashier at most can do is, he can sell extra cheese to you. He cannot influence the menu mix. He can just try to sell or influence what he can do. But now it is completely changed. Since customers are buying from a digital touch points, they have a choice to select what are the cravers they wanted to select, or what are the alternative to carbonated drinks. So there is a lot of awareness. People are not choosing carbonated drinks, rather going for coffee and some kind of other offerings like what we give in our menus. And this has created a big difference. We are able to understand what customer want. Before we want to sell what we want to sell to the customer. So there's a big change in it. And inevitably, we have customer information. So we know the customer patterns, their preferences, choices, which helped us to create dynamic menus, personalize more to them. And this has completely changed the way how we see the data. Before we have all off-cooked data, we cannot find anything about a customer when he's in the restaurant. So now what happened is this also helped us to change the operation methods. Like before, we used to have 3 or 4 cash tills, which is manned 24 hours. So you have 12 to 16 people only doing the cashing. Now, there is a big saving. I don't need any cashier because customers are themselves doing their transaction. And now the new profiles came like customer service or customer experience executive or a customer service manager. They interact more with customer. There is a human touch. So they talk to customer, they understand, they try to improve the customer experience. This is really enhancing that space. So we know the customer. And the same customer, when he go back and order online, then we can identify the customer. And I can say that we are today trying to build ourselves from last 3 years to be AI ready. I don't say any one of us are very close to adopt AI because AI may be a powerful tool, but until unless you have a right data, right assortments, it cannot be used. So currently the use cases is more of on feedback and interactions. So once we have a good number of data sitting with us, with these data touch points, in next coming couple of years, we see a lot of enhancement in the customer experience, what we can create. That's what happening within the restaurants.
Perfect. So this is an advantage of the online behavior change and you're bringing it into the store, at least the best elements of it. It's amazing to see. But let me then come to actually Realty, right? Realty is known to be, I would say it's one of the most traditional offline, at least in my mind, is still quite traditional. You've got the brokers, you've got the site visits, you've got this long process of booking and then handover. But you've been thinking about it very, very differently, right? How you're using technology and all this behavior change that we've been talking about to revamp the business of realty selling. Maybe talk about it a little.
Yeah. So, am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So, buying a house is a kind of it's not a transaction like you have it in banking, right? 1,000 lakhs of transaction in a month, that probably person would do the transaction once, or somebody is rich, maybe 2 or 3 transactions. So hence it is extremely important in terms of how the entire journey is being built up from a product perspective first, because that is where you will differentiate. So at L&T, there are quite a focus on the first is the product. Second is the entire stakeholder matrix. It is not only limited to the customer. But you since ask about customer, because it's customer, how is customer is coming to you? In real estate, usually I have seen people are very comfortable with their channel partners or brokers. They will get the first-hand information from the brokers, and then they will have their strategy, and then they will go on the Google and they will search it. So now when it comes to L&T, we have drawn actually each and every customer journey, each and every stakeholder journey, the broker journey, how broker operates, how customer thinks, and then how, if these 2 parameters are our prime factor, how we can set up our equation within this ecosystem so that we can focus on the product, and secondly, we can focus on the customer experience. Now, if you talk about, let me briefly talk about the product, how we think about product, and let me embed a technology along with it. Typically, real estate is not tech savvy. It used not to be a tech savvy, right? It is a lot of physical experiences. People don't want to see a lot of tech in when it comes to buying a house. They want to see the house, they want to come, they want to experience. A lot of physicalities are involved when it comes to customer. But same was the case when you are thinking about what sort of product will go in that particular geography. So there is, we leverage a lot of on market intelligence. And market intelligence 5, 6 years before, it was all physical. You will have your employee, somebody will give you an idea, and broker will give you an idea. This is how the market is. Ye chal raha hai idhar. But now what we have done is, I call it a y-axis intelligence. First is, what is market is there. It's not only your local market, but internationally how product is coming up. So we subscribe to a lot of data. And it is not person dependent. It comes in, we subscribe it, it comes to on our data lake, we have that insights. Secondly, we also rely on our employee also, because a lot of sales team have an idea, they come from a lot of background. That is the another insights. Third is how our competitions are doing. So when we have this Y matrix, and all the insights, we have all the technology to derive insight. So it's junk in, junk out, but we ensure that nothing goes in without a validation of data. Based on that, there are recommendations on the product or the liking of the customer that comes out, and based on that, we then get into the design with having this as an input. And that's how the product building goes on in terms of which area will be more lucrative, whether at the same time we are also keeping our top lines and bottom lines also in the mind. And that's how we are utilizing technology when it comes to product. Now let's talk about customer journey. Usually, if you and me are buying a house, usually we'll go on at least once in a Google to see, 2 BHK in Powai. And then you land up with lots of websites, and you will have a fear whether it's fraudulent website or not. And that's where at L&T we have a differentiating factor. For example, if you have made up your mind, okay, let's look at the L&T. I like the L&T product because we have given a differentiating factor there. And you search something on the Google, we ensure that we land up first. 3 website will be the L&T authenticated websites, and the customer will land up. How we do that is a different little complex in terms of we do a lot of AI engines and bots are working in behind and in collaborations with Google. Once the search has happened, obviously the next intuitive step for customer is to have a lot of inquiry about the product. And that's where he will either pick up a call his broker, or call directly to us. And then probably if he has made up his mind and is convinced, he will make a site visit. He comes there, looks at the product, and then makes a booking, and then waits for 3 to 4 years with us. Payment happens, and finally the handover open. This is the entire customer journey. Now, entire technology is built around this customer journey, along with the broker journey, because he's the person who's sometimes 70% our revenue comes from the broker, right? So now, before I talk about how technology we are at each customer point, what is the technology playing a role? Let me give you some metrics in terms of how business happens in real estate. If there are 100 people who are prospects or suspects who are thinking of buying a house, only 10 will go to the actual site. I mean, this is roughly industry figures I'm telling you, and out of those 10, only 1 or 2 will end up booking a house. Now here you see where is the challenge is. It's how do you convert those 90 people to 20 visit size, and that is where your product will come into picture. And once those 2 customers who actually book it, will they talk to other 10 and say that this is really a differentiating factor, we are happy with it? And that's where we focus where to emphasize on. So, and how do we do that in terms of, you need to know your customer well. So we start the journey right at the first interaction happens with our direct sales, pre-sales we call it. Lot of conversations happens over the call. You must have received a lot of calls, right? And you say a lot of things, and there is a gold in it, in that conversation. But what happens is, technology is not intuitive in terms of it will understand, and you are dependent on human to put a lot of details about the customer, and it takes a lot of time. So what we have thought is, we'll probably use voice analytics. We use a lot of LLM models, the conversions, and whenever conversation is happening, we don't ask our people to put a lot of data into the system. It automatically happens, and it creates an insight. So what happens is, when customer comes to the site, we already know about the customer. In terms of a lot of things get discussed in the conversation. They will also talk about how many properties they own. They will also tell about where they have, what kind of car they have, how closely, what is their likings are. If you go legally to ask all these questions, the data protection will, kill you. So that's why we do voice analytics, because it is recorded, and we do try to create a profile, which is, we understand the customer better. So at the site visit also, they will be greeted differently. The product offering will be different, And then once the site visit happens, there is nothing, we don't ask them to say, bring your Aadhaar card, and even if you don't have it, it's okay. Previously, the booking used to happen almost 2 to 3 hours. Now it happens in 3 to 4 minutes. So that is what the evolution of the time saving which has happened from a customer perspective, be it NRI customer or be it a local customer, we do not bother them from a documentation or from a KYC perspective. Once that is been done, obviously the next curious question for a customer, how's my house is coming? I don't care about the other house, my house is coming up, whether my payments are going or not, do I have the receipt or not? So for that we have customer app. And as I said, since it is not based on the data we derive, we actually meet the customer and say that what is their need. So each and every department who is responsible for, they sit with the customer at each and every customer point, and then we derive this is the information would make sense for the customer to have a look at it. So then entire journey is driven through a customer ad till we hand it over. So we also do a digital handover, it's not a physical handover. Before the customer comes, he has a full liberty, as said, like Amazon said, right? There are so many touch points in the entire customer, and each and every customer is different. So we have all the channels to interact with the customer, be it WhatsApp, be it SMS, be it your customer app, and each and everything which intuitively customer would seek for, we try to see that we proactively give that. And that is the only thing which brings a lot of delight to a customer. The house is ready, the construction updates are going. Usually you will see construction updates, you will only see building pictures, right? Though we are still sending the same, but we are trying to be a little different. What if we can give it to their houses, how it's coming up? The sink has come up, the tap has come up, this lighting has come up. That gives a lot of personalization. So that is our aspirations, but that is the direction we are going into. So nobody does a digital handover, if I'm not wrong, in the industry. So that is what we are trying to see. All the documents which happens in the entire customer journey, right from the first receipt or the NOC has been received or not, lot of bank NOCs you would need. There are 20 to 25 documents which customer would need it. Till 3 to 4 you'll hand over your lot of drawings. We have kept it at one place, you click it, you will get everything. So that's how the entire customer journey has been plotted, and the technology is built around that, not the technology is pushed on that. And secondly, the entire experiences which is given by all the 700 or 800 employees. So we have also working towards that how this 700 or 800 employees, their interdependency as an internal customer, if that is been taken care of to deliver this one, I think that will add in an extra, brownie point to gain the customer experience.
That is a very, very different journey from the journey that I had seen last time I bought a house. Looking forward to experiencing it soon. But
so let's buy it from LNG.
Absolutely. Right. But it is interesting. We've spoken about so far when you're acquiring new customers, right? All three of the journeys that we spoke about is more around the acquisition. Anil, you've been thinking about how customers experience your platform, the MCX platform, also thinking about investing ahead of the curve and really thinking about the the customer experience and the research around it even before they encounter issues, right? Maybe talk a little bit about how does this run and how do you think about your CX?
So thank you. A couple of things before start. I'm Anil Varma. I'm heading the technology at MCX Clearing Corporation. So to start with, I don't know how many of you know about MCX, but if I ask you what is the gold rate, you all know that gold rate comes from MCX, okay? So that's the benchmark we set. And we provide a trading platform whereby you can trade in the commodity derivatives, just like in a CBSE, you trade in the securities, okay? So as a customer experience perspective, when it comes to customer in the commodity trading environment, we provide a platform where based on the customer need, what they can able to trade. For example, there are various customer in terms of who can able to actually trade. Let's say if you want to trade in a 1 kg gold contract, current rate 71,000, and it's very hard for everybody to trade, okay? So we offer products, okay? So product of, let's say, not only 1 kg, 100 gram mini gold, you can trade in 10 gram gold, you can even trade in 8 gram, which is gold guinea, and even there are customer who wants to even further down, so it's 1 gram petals. Okay, so people can go to that so that we can have their set of customer who can be not having a right level of money, it can still be interacted and able to trade out. So this is one level. Leaving aside from the business side of it, as a technology, my responsibility is to provide a platform which is seamlessly work from morning 9 a.m. to 11:30 in the night. On when there is a daylight in US, it is 12:30 in the midnight. Okay, and then do all your settlement, clearing, and everything, and bring up the market again 9 a.m. in the morning to start fresh. Okay. So real-time experience, extremely performance, particularly the low latency, so that the customer transaction actually get fulfilled. Okay, so you put a order, it get executed if there are both the sides of trade execution, of course. But the experience in terms of low latency, you get the edge in terms of the people who either, we have a traders who are algo traders, we are customers who are, let's say, non-algo and normal investors, or the hedgers or somebody. Okay, so we provide a platforms to give a better experience. In case, let's say, transactions not honored, then providing the refunds, settlements properly in time, so that there is any customer grievances we can handle properly. Okay. Second aspect, I'll talk about some of the customer delight based on my past experiences, which I have worked with NSDL. So you all invest in the securities, okay, and you all invest in mutual fund, various mutual funds. You have receiving NSDL cash statement, which is your customer statement. If you have looked at the customer cash statement, you can able to find out what is all your total investment across various mutual funds, and it's a single place you can get complete report. NSDL and CDSL providing a cash statement. Earlier, people invest in mutual fund, various. You will never have a consolidated view. You will never had a view of monthly what is the profitability in terms of which mutual fund your investment is good or bad. So with this kind of a statement, you will be able to know whether you have to continue invested in that particular investment or you want to move out. Okay. And people, because generally trade and forget, okay, many of the investors don't regularly monitor the exchange moving the prices, but being the statement, let's like a banking statement, you will able to see how your overall customer portfolio is that. Other experience I can talk about the IPO when you invest in, earlier it was the days when it was taking 6 to 7 days for processing your, so we built a API with NSDL for verification purpose with your demat account, which brought down to 2 to 3 days of your overall the cycle of processing the IPO. So it's a B2B integration over the APIs. So API is the key when it comes to B2B integrations, which the customer is on the other side, but then his customer experience with the one party is not the total experience and failure of that only entity. The behind that scene, there are 4 or 5 different players in the together servicing the customer. I can talk about one experience where we build 3-on-1 account opening. So if you want to trade, you need a broker account, you need a demat account, you need a bank account. So in a single, let's say, application form, if you fulfill, your KYC can be done with the Aadhaar, and then all the 3 accounts can be opened. I just don't want to take much time, but then plenty of experience where technology can enable the customer experience much better and service better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's take a broader view of customers, right? Customers don't always need to be the consumer who's in consuming. Quite often, internal customers are equally important, whether they're channel partners, whether they're in-shop promoters, or even your own employees. Abhishek, maybe you talk about how have you been thinking about customer experience more broadly? And who are your customers when you think about this?
Sure, thanks. Hello. You alluded initially about these traditional organizations. So Bluestar is among them. We are an 80-year-old, some might say stodgy organization. In fact, very quickly to digress, one of the former IT heads long ago had, on his farewell day, he had passed a comment that in the late 90s, when they set up computers and the LAN network, some vice presidents came and complained to him that I'm not getting emails. And then when they investigated, they found that because nobody was writing you emails, you are not getting any. So from there to using generative AI, and these days I think everybody and their cousins are using that for internal and external customers. I think these technologies, for us, when I talk about the internal sales teams or as you said, in-shop demonstrators at Vijay Sales who come and try to sell you a Bluestar or a LG over other brands, or the channel partners through which we sell. Now, technology is as good as the business case that it is trying to solve. So one, in the interest of time, one simple use case that we launched recently is for our chiller line of business. They are these big ACs, to put it simply, which power your multiplexes and ICUs. They can't go down. So one of the problems that the sales team faces is when they are talking to a consultant, who is the influencer. That consultant on behalf of the customer will decide whether to get a Bluestar or a competitor. So there is this process called speccing in. So the consultant doesn't know everything about air conditioning business. He says, you give me the top 10 specifications that I can get from you, and I'll prepare a tender out of it. Now, these are frequently asked but difficult questions for which the sales guy has to say, I'll come back to you. He goes back to the product manager, the R&D team. By then, a competitor will swoop in, spec in the product, the tender is out. And if you are on the negotiating table, you'll still lose the order because somebody else is technically far more competent than you. So we created a simple bot, which instead of looking at large language model, a small language model where you've got your internal content, you ask things like, what is the COP of a particular item? Or do you have an AC between X and Y tonnage with energy efficiency ratio of so and so? Now, what would have previously taken days happens across the table, and it also gives a little bit of confidence to the consultant that these guys know what they're talking about. Also, how is our ROI better than those of our competitors by looking through different rating charts? So there are small tweaks. I mean, Gen AI need not be a Shah Rukh Khan coming on Diwali on a Cadbury ad, talking about go to your Shri Ashtavinayak agencies to get your Diwali pack, which they did, it worked for them with imaging and video technology, but it can also be these. But one shouldn't overdo it. There was a meme on LinkedIn recently where they showed a sandwich which had an onion, they put some sauce on it, and then some beetroot, more sauce. They got the second slice, sauce. They put the whole thing on, and they put in some more, and then it was packed in a polythene bag, and some more. And this is what companies are doing when it comes to just using analytics here and there. So we are wary of that. We are also a stingy outfit. Although we are listed, we don't want to just spend money on technology if we don't have a good use case. So even in analytics, very briefly, we spend a lot of time in cleaning data, trying to figure out which are the KPIs that we could get out of connecting the dots. So yes, these telling our channel partners what sells around them, who is the best possible sub-dealer to connect with, is something that we are looking at, among other things.
Thank you. Let's do and this is my favorite part of the discussion always. The previous panel spoke about what are some of the metrics, how do they measure value from good CX. Maybe we do one rapid fire one on what is the metric that you track and how much value, how much improvement when you implemented some of these technologies or implemented a different CX, how much improvement did you see from some of this? Maybe Suhail, starting with you, one or two metrics, what kind of improvement?
I think it's working. I think for us, the biggest one is about customers being persistent. Because in a life insurance business, the biggest thing is that the person remain with us towards the end of the policy, right? He's getting great returns, great service, and what you promised him. I think that number has risen. Today, we have one of the India's best when it comes to a 13-month persistency. We've seen the number rise almost 3-4% in the last couple of years. Second, I think NPS. Today, for most of our journeys, our NPS is 70 and above. Even digital NPS, which is normally is very difficult because it's on that time. It's in late 60s, the best in the industry. So I think we've seen this journey both in terms of repeated customers staying with us and customers being happy.
Abhishek?
So it's tricky. We are struggling with this. It's not like we've got an answer, but there are some basic things that we do that if there is a digital intervention, and then we decide at the beginning, these are the few levers. For example, did this bring you more leads and how many got converted? Or did the time between the inquiry to quotation, was it reduced by X% by doing a post-launch survey? So there's no straight answer, every horses for courses kind of a thing.
One is it changed the product mix and it created a upsell with the digital thing because we exactly know.
And digital created a better upsell than the person who's selling you?
Yeah, of course, because it goes to more choices and people try to try new products. And when it comes to the business, it definitely helped in operational efficiencies. And the main thing is how clear about customer, knowing the customer journey. So these data points help us. And the biggest thing in an organization like us, where we have more blue-collar employees, is training and making them to talk about brand. So everyone cannot talk.
Any ballpark number on, as people think about a business case for this, is it worth investing in? What can people expect? You already, Suhail, gave us
A ballpark number in terms of
like,
check size.
yeah, check, not check size, the improvement of the metrics. Average order value, how much have you seen?
Yeah. So basically, per order product, which is at a 2.5 increase to 3.5 at a product average, and check size is somewhere about 20%, and it's a continuous journey. So
pays dividends.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yogesh?
In real, yeah. So one of the metrics which we follow in terms of what I said before is to how from the launch, how fast your 70% of the inventory is going. Say for example, it was going in 2 months or 3 months. We are doing better than that, or we are doing, that shows like if you see in Apple Store, right, there is a product launch, there is a queuing up. And that is the philosophy we want to be. So if and whenever L&T launches a product, we want to see what is our inventory lifetime. So one is that matrix. And of course, on the customer, as we said, traditionally we have CSAT, all that. That is all digitally taken care of. The differently, what we are trying to do is even after we have sold the house, after 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, physically somebody going there asking them, how is it going? And that is the matrix. After that, we draw a lot of data out of it and then see what is the improvement we can do in the product. So it's a certain, some matrices are financial driven, some matrices are customer driven. So these are the couple of matrices which we look at it very closely.
For us, the technology side, I look at the metrics of uptime, making the system available, let's say 99.3 times 9, okay, so that you can trade or you can transact whatever transaction you want to do any time in the day and night, okay. And second is the reliability. So the transaction which you do should not fail. It should service you, okay. So these are the two metrics I can talk about. Anyway, there are many, but thank you.
Thanks a lot, all the panelists. It was a pleasure, having this discussion. At least the takeaway for me is there is actually a lot of value sitting there, whether it's in conversion, whether it's in the sales increase or the average order values that you're seeing. Good customer experience does pay, and there's enough and more technologies which are getting implemented for internal and external customers to do that. Pleasure having you, and thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for our eminent panelists for that very insightful discussion. And of course, thank you, Mr. Tara, for your moderation.